Hello, peoples of the internet. This is Eminough, and we are back into TerraGenesis Mars. So, the year is currently 2045, not that far in the future, and our game is actually still paused. So, let's fix that, why don't we? As you can see, our current objective, our current priority, is to increase pressure, because pressure is an important part of sustaining an ecosystem, which we are crawling ever closer towards being able to do. Let's do a quick research check. We are not currently researching anything. Let's go to our colonies. Zakharov's Wish. We have one space available, but I think instead of adding a new thing to Zakharov's Wish, we'll just upgrade this hab complex. So that'll take about 40 minutes. And how much does it cost to make a new colony? 5 million credits. We only have 3 million. 374,700 something. Anyways, so since our hold on, let's see this transmission. Cultural revenue boost by 200% for an hour. I did a transmission that did this right before the recording, so I'm not going to do that right now. Let's check our culture really fast. Next culture point comes at 1,000 population. And let's go back to Zakharov's Wish, because we need to check. Yep, we are currently producing 10 pascals of pressure per minute. As you can see right here. We could have just come here as well. And it's all coming from the level 1 borehole in Zakharov's Wish. So, that means that we would probably be justified in starting to research thermal dust. Let's go ahead and do that. It'll take 1 hour. So, while we're waiting for that, let's look at our biosphere. We have one slot available for terrestrial organisms, as you may remember from episode 1, where we researched the automated nursery, which gives us one slot per level, I assume, for terrestrial species. Let's see what this transmission is for. Cultural revenue, we already have that. We don't need it. Yet, anyway. Let's see. Stabilize a massive aquifer. Let's release the water. We need to increase our sea levels. In fact, let's go ahead and see what our map looks like. As you can see, we still don't have much in the way of oceans. There's not any water being shown on the map yet. And if we come over here, we can see that the reason is we only have 43,814 centimeters of water on the surface. And it's increasing by 146 centimeters per minute due to global warming, which is bad on Earth, because Earth is already terraformed. In fact, the word terraform means to be like Earth. So we don't need any more water, or any less water, or any more heat, or any less heat, or pressure, or oxygen. We could admittedly use more biomass. I mean, we already have quite a bit of it. Enough that a lot of the surface appears green, but we are burning through it at an astounding rate, so we need to find ways to preserve that, to conserve the biomass that we do have. So let's see. Let's go to Yogalin. And we still have 1 day on this mine. Oh, why is this beta 7? And this is alpha 1. That's a little bit confusing. I'm not sure about that. And the C mode. Alpha 1, Beta 1. Not producing that much, but that's fine. Let's come back to research, and I just wanted to see how much palladium costs to research. It's 6 million. What's this transmission for? Mining and cultural revenue boost. Alright, we can use a mining boost, so I will go ahead and cut the video right here so I can get this boost, and I will be right back. Alright everyone, we're back from the ad break. We currently have 603 population. We are still a barren planet, and we need more pressure, mainly. That is our primary priority, our primary objective. Everything else can wait, although not much else will. Let's see, we're currently earning 38,970 credits per minute. And oh, that was the level of the mine, and that's why it's being depleted more quickly. I'm sorry, everybody. That was a bit of a slip up on my part. I didn't quite realize why the numbers were the numbers that they were. And we have a transmission where we can get a free Genesis point for watching a short video. So, if you'll pardon me, we're going to take another ad break here to get that Genesis point. So I'll see you all in just a minute. And we're back. And now we have 1 Genesis point. And 618 population. Now 619. This really is a waiting game, and there isn't much that we can do right now. So, let's check out our research. We have 53 minutes 45 seconds left on the thermal dust, and if you wanted to hurry it... we have apparently received an influx of Cuban immigrants from Earth to Zakharov's Wish, so now there is a Cuban aspect to the Zakharov's Wish culture, which is really cool. We need 2 Genesis points. Okay. That's fine. We can wait. And while we do that, here is a view of Mars as it currently stands. Now, this is pretty widespread knowledge, but just as a talking point, the reason that Mars appears red is because of the high amounts of iron in its soil, which is oxidized at this point, causing the soil to appear red. Oh, a short video that will give us 3 free Genesis points. That's terrific. I'll be right back, everybody. Please bear with me. And we are back. Here is the view of Mars as it currently stands. Let's see. A popular entertainer in Zakharov's Wish has begun promoting a powerfully anti-intellectual message, convincing people not to trust science and modern medicine. We could launch a campaign to educate the public before this attitude becomes a feature of the local culture, but doing so will cost 3,782,000 credits. Should we launch the campaign? This is a really unfortunate turn of events, everybody. I personally really like intellectualism. Not to say that I'm against spirituality. I don't think those two have to be mutually exclusive. So, it's an unfortunate thing that we have to decline this because we are simply too poor. We were almost exactly 1 million credits short. Now, I'm curious. I think this will be the case. Yep, right down there on the most recent local cultural feature is anti-intellectualism, which is really sad. I still think it's funny, though, that Zakharov's Wish is both known for its cozy architecture style and its brutal architecture style, which are two completely opposite things. Let's see. During an intense dust storm, over a dozen travelers reported seeing a huge stone face carved into the mountains near Zakharov's Wish. When the dust settled, it could not be relocated, but the witnesses insist that something is out there. Now, this is a really interesting bit of story that there could be so much done with. Unfortunately, nothing is done with it, to my knowledge, in the game yet. Maybe it will be incorporated more heavily in the future. I don't know. But I would really enjoy that. That would be a really cool thing to have in the game. Incoming transmission. Boost our mining revenue by 200% for an hour. We don't need that, thank you. Let's see. How about a new outpost? That would cost 3 million credits. Alright. So, while we're waiting, let's do a little bit more exploration into the biosphere. Oh, paid broadcasts or live shows. Now, this is interesting because we do need more population to get more culture points, which is the way that you win the game. But if we want to terraform the game, or terraform Mars, which is the goal of the game, as well as gaining independence from Earth, then we need more money. And money is starting to become somewhat of an issue, so in this case I'm going to go with live shows. So let's do a little bit more exploration into microorganisms. No slots available, so we can't look at that, but we can look at this. So, in the microorganism slot, we have actinobacteria, which offers plus 50% support for other species. Lichen, which has plus 10% for all tolerances. Fungus, which has plus 50% support offered for other species, but also a rather low tolerance for low water conditions, due to the conditions that they tend to grow in, where it's dark and moist. And protozoa, which apparently just have plus 50% birth rate, which is interesting. And over here we have the environment rating for temperature, for pressure, for oxygen levels, and for water. And right below that we have a tolerance score. So for example, if we chose lichen, then we have a support score of 1, but we'd have a tolerance score of 0. And what we could do is add a cold adapted gene, a low oxygen adapted gene, and an extremophile gene, and let's see how that would work. I'm not going to add this organism into the environment just yet, but we're going to explore and see how this would work. So we still have a tolerance score of 0.00. We have a support score of 1, 0 modifiers, and what would happen if we did that? Well, actually, before we even ask that question, we needed to find out what the projected health would be. Total growth rate plus 1.49% per minute. So it does appear as if this would do rather well in this current environmental conditions. What I'm worried about, though, is what would happen to it once Mars actually does become habitable. And the other question we need to ask ourselves is, do we actually need to begin working on an ecosystem right away? I don't think the answer is yes, so we're going to wait on that for just a second. Mining revenue? We already have that, but thank you. Let's try tree. Plus 50% support required, plus 50% support offered, and plus 2% oxygen, or plus 2 oxygen parts per minute. Let's add that. Cold adapted. It's already adjusted somewhat well to low oxygen, but I suppose that wouldn't hurt. Cold adapted, low oxygen adapted, and is there one? Oh, while I was gone, my colonist turned to 2,714 credits. That's nice. Low pressure adapted. So let's see. We will need to support this more than other things. Let's see. And this will. So let's see. Current projected, distinct, healthy, overrunning. So it looks like this would actually survive. Will it survive if we give it 0 support? Oh. Let's see, 0 tolerance, 0 support, 1 modifier. So actually that doesn't look like that will do very well. Plus the question, do we actually need to be starting an ecosystem just yet, is still a valid question to be asking ourselves. And we don't need any cultural revenue yet because we still have that boost applied. So we can let that be. We currently have 748 population, which means we are getting rather close to our next goal, which is 1,000 population. After we reach 1,000 population, I believe the next milestone is 2,500, and then 5,000, and then 10,000, etc. Because you can still have 41 minutes on the thermal dust. Which means we can't research anything quite yet, although we do have the Genesis points to finish the research immediately if we wanted, but we're going to not do that quite yet. Oh, and look at this. It doesn't appear as if Mars is quite as red anymore. Of course, I could also have just been looking at one of the more tan areas. Let's take a quick look at the map. We still can't really see any water, which is not necessarily bad because we do know from our summary screen, specifically the water part of the summary screen, that we are in fact gaining water. Also, whenever we release aquifers from a mine, that adds some amount of water to the ocean levels. Now, you'll notice that right up here it says one of the most famous keys to life as we know it is water. Not only is it necessary for the functioning of all life, it also allows for thriving undersea ecosystems. Your planet's sea level is measured in centimeters above the planet's lowest point. As it rises, you'll see it gradually filling in the lower elevation regions across the world. And well, first let's see this. Mining revenue. We don't need that. We already have it. Thank you. If we look over here, actually, where would we look for that? I thought that we would be able to find an elevation map of Mars right there, but apparently we can't. What we can do, however, to find the elevation is create a new mine. Now, you see right here, this black region right here is a deep crater. So there's going to be water filling up in there. And basically anything that's not really light gray or whiter is going to be filling up with water first. Which is why I tend to try to put things on light gray areas or white areas so as to protect them from the rising sea level. And if we come here, right, we can see that right here is where that black area is. And it appears to me that well, it's a little bit hard to explain, but you can begin to make out a bit of an outline. I can't really trace it for you, but I'll just switch back and forth a few more times so that you can sort of see where the outline of the landmasses are going to be. Or rather the singular landmass, because there's only one continent on Mars. And we actually don't need a new outpost quite yet, and we don't need more cultural revenue boosting quite yet. Let's go back here. We've now passed the 800 population mark, which is rather amazing if you ask me. We now have 812 people living on Mars, and it's only 2047. That's just incredible. We do, however, still need to increase pressure, and if we were actually terraforming Mars, another thing we would need to make sure to include is a magnetosphere, because Mars's core is rotating very slowly and is very cool, and so it doesn't produce much of a magnetosphere, which would protect it from the sun's rays like our Earth's magnetosphere does. Also, and it's also important for keeping the atmosphere safe from really high energy particles, because otherwise the atmosphere would be stripped of a lot of its gases, and we would have a much thinner atmosphere than we currently do. Let's go back to research. We have just passed the 36-minute mark on that, or rather the 24-minute mark, I suppose, because we're counting down from 60, not up to 60. The point is, we have just over 35 and a half minutes left, and we also have an incoming transmission trying to give us some mining revenue boost, which we don't need right now. let's actually go ahead and check our income. It's plus 40,709 credits per minute. And you'll notice a new piece of text has appeared on the summary screen right below the biomass indicator. It says terrestrial plant support, which means we currently have a good enough environment to support some plant life. That's what I think it means. I don't actually know for sure. And the easiest way, of course, would be to confirm whether or not that's actually what it means, is to actually try and introduce a plant to the ecosystem. But I don't think that's a good idea right now, because as you can see, the thing that is closest to being hospitable to plants and microbes is heat, and everything else is still all the way to the left, which means that while the temperatures might be right, we don't have nearly enough pressure, oxygen, or water levels. Pardon my yawn. I am apparently quite tired right now. So, we're currently working on pressure, as is evident by our priority. We don't need more cultural revenue boost right now, thank you. And after that, I believe we will begin working on oxygen and finally water levels. Now, let's see. That's versus plutocracy, which is money. Do we want... You know what? Let's do that, because we chose to do the live shows for that pop star instead of live broadcasts, which would increase population. We need to try and keep balance in this. And the easiest way to do that, I can't open the satellite menu quite yet, but the easiest way to do that would be to build the Lagrange Academy, which I mentioned it and its functions at the beginning of the first episode, and that allows you to make cultural adjustments for free. So we could come in here to the culture tab, and we would be able to click, for example, the economy slider and say, I would like to make an adjustment so that we have plus 25 biomass growth and minus 25 construction speed, so that we can build things a little bit faster. Just as an example, Local Mystique, a hit television show, has been released which portrays Zakharov's Wish as a sexy, vibrant, exciting city full of thrilling adventures and exotic romance. People have begun flocking to Mars in the hope of capturing this dream for themselves, resulting in a minor population boom for Zakharov's Wish. That is really cool. And apparently Mystique-ish. Let's see, mining revenue boost. No thanks, we already have that. And now it's all just a waiting game. Well, not from now on. There are still things that needed to be done later on, but right now, at the very least, until the thermal dust finishes being researched, which I believe we can do for just one Genesis point now. We cannot. Until that point in time, we don't really have very much that we can do. So, while we wait for something new to happen, let's just watch the planet turn, which I think is a really neat view. Pardon the notifications that are popping up on my device. Oh, we now have a level 10 automated nursery. Let's accept that, and that makes me curious. Did that just give us more slots? Yes, we now have 10 slots for microorganisms. Or for plants, or for herbivores, or for carnivores. And that is really cool. So it is one per level, like I thought it would be. And it appears we have an incoming transmission now, so let's see what that is. A short video that will give us 2 free Genesis points. Please excuse me, I'll be right back. And we're back. We are almost to the 1,000 population mark, which is incredible. I wasn't expecting it to come so soon. We currently have 961 people living on Mars. And since we have quite a few terrestrial slots, let's go ahead and make an extremophile protozoa. Let's see. Protozoa are unicellular eukaryotic organisms traditionally defined as having animal-like behaviors such as motility and predation. While the term has fallen in and out of favor among biologists, it serves as a valuable category when designing new organisms for ecosystems beyond Earth. Let's go ahead and add that gene. And what we will want to do is add the cold adapted gene, the low oxygen gene. Actually, can we remove that gene? Let's see. Incoming transmission, cultural revenue. We don't need that right now. So let's make a protozoa with low pressure adaptation, low oxygen adaptation, and the extremophile gene. And let's see what that says. It says it still has 0 tolerance, which is interesting. What happens if we max that out? Projected health. Not be immediate, but they will alter the projected health of your species and will continue to do so until you cease your efforts. Okay. Projected health is still 0% because we have 0 tolerance. Now, I just wanted to try one more thing. Actually, let's see. 50 sport, 10% all tolerances. Let's try a fungus. A lichen. And I wonder what happens if we only add extremophile genes. Because as you can see, we can add multiple of the same gene. Tolerance is 0.19. Support is 1. Modifiers are 1. It won't be very well off, but it will survive. So that means that we can actually add this if we want. It will be the ultimate extremophile, So it probably won't do very well in the late game, but who knows. Let's go ahead and confirm this organism. Input organism name, Sphentens stebus. Let's actually name you Primus Vivus X. Just like that. Primus Vivus X. 3 free Genesis points. Excuse me, and this new scientific breakthrough. I will be right back with 3 more Genesis points. Alright, and we are back. Primus Vivus X currently is moving from 2% endangered to 19% endangered, I believe is how that's supposed to be read. We don't need mining revenue, or a mining revenue boost quite yet. Oh, and we've passed 1,000 population, so we have a new culture point. Plus 5% independence, please. Next culture point will be received at 2,500 population, which is just great. Now let's check on Primus Vivus X. So it's currently moving from very endangered to mildly endangered. Zakharov's Wish Habitat Complex has finished upgrading to level 2. Cool. Alright. Current health 4%. And we are still trying to increase pressure. Let's go to research. 21 minutes 40 seconds left, give or take a couple. Let's see. 1 Genesis point. Let's go ahead and finish that research. And next, how about we research the Atmogen suite? Or let's see what this transmission says. Or yeah, let's research the Eminough suite, which will take 2 hours, 5 minutes, and 58 seconds to complete. So that probably won't complete in this episode, but in the next. But we have to think long term, especially when we are colonizing and terraforming a planet. Let's go to colonies. Let's go to Zakharov's Wish. And with one of our new slots, let's insert a thermal dust generator, which will take 39 minutes to complete. A major metanational corporation is offering to invest 15 million credits in your efforts at colonization. That being said, if you accept their investment, they will expect to be given expanded rights on Mars, signifying a 10% reduction in the independence movement. Would you like to accept their offer? So, I think this is timed. I think it's going to disappear after a little bit. But let's think this through. 15 million credits is a lot, and we will be able to do a lot with those 15 million credits. The question we need to ask ourselves is it worth 15 million credits to lose 2 culture points? Are 2 culture points worth 15 million credits? I'm going to say no thank you. Culture points are simply too difficult to come across. That would be the equivalent of putting our population back at 499 or lower. We would have to wait and having to wait all the way until 1,000 population. We simply have too much progress that we would lose if we were to have accepted that offer. Cultural revenue boost by 200% for an hour. No thanks, we already have that, we're good. Alright, we currently have 1,713,000 credits. Oh, we have unexpectedly completed the Imogen suite. By coordinating with research teams throughout the solar system, they were able to finish their project far ahead of schedule. That's amazing. And that means we have had a breakthrough in the Imogen suite. That's amazing. Unprecedented, even. I have actually never seen that announcement before. That being said, we do not have enough credits to research anything of importance because we've researched all. Oh, except for the Cloud Seeder. And or the Tidal Enclave. We could begin unlocking aquatic species, but as you can see right here, we don't have much of an ocean for them to live in yet. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm going to wait and hold out on researching the tidal enclave until we can see a good amount of water on this map right here. And it does show up eventually when the water level is high enough. So, we seem to be experiencing a little bit of a population boom. Let's see, we are currently growing by 18 every minute. Which actually seems to be one person per minute too low. If you'll see on the increase, it says we have +5 from a great musician, +3 from being featured in a hit video game, +5 for having a great artist, +5 for being featured in a hit television show, and +1 native birth rate. Adding those up, we get 5, 8, 13, 18, 19. So developer, if you're watching this, your population growth rate may be just a tiny bit off. It's still a great game. I still love it. People should still play it. It's a terrific educational experience. I mean in no way to put your game down. It's an amazing game and I love it. I just thought I'd let you know that your population growth rate calculator may be just a little bit off. Let's see what this incoming transmission has to say. Mining revenue boost. We don't need that, thank you. We're just fine. Let's see what we can do. Primus Vivus X is currently at 14% health, and it's still presumably going up to its maximum of 19% health. 15% health. Let's take a look at this really fast. Tolerance score 0.19. That's probably where the 19% health cap comes from. My prediction was that if the tolerance score were to be 1.00, the health cap would be 100%. Well, and we'll have to see how that plays out. We are going to decline that because we still have plenty of cultural revenue boost left. And while we're waiting for something new to happen, let's watch the planet as it rotates. Now, speaking of planetary rotation, Mars's days are actually, I believe it's slightly longer than Earth's days by maybe 3 hours. In fact, I'm going to check that. Please pardon me for a moment. It's actually even less than that. 1 day on Mars is 1 day, 37 minutes on Earth. So it's spinning ever so slow, so much slower than Earth is. Which is another cool fact that you can add to the list of things you know about Mars. We currently have 1,236 people living on Mars, and the year is 2049. And we are still trying to increase pressure. Speaking of which, let's go to Zakharov's wish and see if we have what it takes to build an Eminough suite. 500,000 credits. Let's go ahead and build that, and let's leave the thermal dust to finish being built. We don't need any more cultural revenue boost yet, thank you very much. Pretty soon we will have the pressure going up much more quickly. Currently, the pressure is being added to by roughly 10 pascals per minute from the borehole. When the thermal dust and the Eminough suite are finished building, we will be having 80 pascals per minute being added. Talk about pressure mounting. Am I right, everybody? I probably am, but I don't think any of you are laughing. That wasn't a very good joke. Let's take a look at the pressure. Not the pressure, the culture tab. Almost the same thing. Next culture point will be obtained for certain at 2,500 population. Although there are things that could give us a culture point sooner than that. Incoming transmission, mining revenue boost by 200% for an hour. No thank you, we're good. We currently have 1,509,000 credits and climbing fast. Let's see if we can upgrade this oxygen plant to the next level. It'll take 125,000 credits and 20 minutes to complete. Give me your tired, give me your poor. The citizens of Mars love their new home, but worlds away people are still suffering. If we were to adopt a more democratic style of government, we could encourage immigrants from throughout the solar system to come settle here, boosting population growth in every one of our colonies. Should we begin making preparations? Yes, let's do that. That will slow down our money in our income somewhat, because we have just prioritized democracy over plutocracy. But that will be just fine, because as long as we think about what we're doing, pay attention, and help the population to continue to grow, we should win just fine without that many major catastrophes occurring. Let's open the research tab just to check what we have left that we can research, and let's see what this incoming transmission says. It'll give us 1 Genesis point if we watch a short video. So I will be right back. Please excuse me. We're back, and the year is 2050. We have 9 Genesis points and 1,483,000 credits and climbing. The population is currently 1,325, and our habitability score remains barren. We still need more pressure. So it's a good thing that in roughly 20 minutes, actually closer to 30 minutes, we will have more pressure coming in from our 2 new buildings, which are Thermal Dust and Atmogen Suite. Let's see what this says. Boost mining revenue by 200% for an hour. No thanks, we're good. Now, what else is there to talk about? Let's go check on Primus Vivus X. It is currently at its maximum health, which is 19%. I believe we could increase the health of Primus Vivus X if we were to put forward credits to conserve it, but we don't need to have it much more healthy than it currently is. However, I kind of wanted to put forth just enough to raise it to 30%, so that it will be a nice even number, and I do understand that that costs credits. Speaking of which, let's see. Plus 2 population. Oh, plus 1,000 credits per minute. I should be reading all of these. Plus 15% low temperature tolerance, but also minus 15% low water tolerance. Plus 50% birth rate, minus 25% support required. Okay. And plus 50% support required, plus 50% support offered, and plus 2 oxygen parts per million per minute. Alright. Now, what about other organisms? Actually, no. Let's leave the ecosystem alone for right now. Primus Vivus X should be doing just fine. More mining revenue? No thanks. Not yet. Let's see. What else can we do while we're waiting? Oh. I wonder if it would be a good idea to upgrade that again. Not quite yet, though, because we still have quite a ways before we start running out of space. We currently have 1,392 people living on Mars. All of them are in Zakharov's wish. And we have room for about 2,300 more people. So we have quite a ways to go. So let's leave that alone for right now. And that's about all we have to do for right now. So let's watch Mars for a little bit longer. And let me ask you guys a few questions. First off, how are you enjoying these videos? Are you enjoying the ambiance that I'm giving off. I've been doing my best to keep this calm, to keep this informative, and to keep this, well, tutorial-like, I suppose, because this is a walkthrough on how to terraform Mars, after all. Now, as I say that, I remember that I brought up that we need to add a magnetosphere, and you're going to have to hold that thought, because we've been offered 3 more Genesis points. So I'll be right back. Genesis points are the premium currency of this game, and so I tend to take every opportunity that I can to get them for free. We currently have 12 in the years 2050. Now, as I was saying about the magnetosphere, let's actually go back to the view of the planet. The way that it is currently hypothesized that we would do that is by literally burying a large strip of powerful magnets, perhaps a couple miles underground, all around the equator. And that would, and maybe make it spin too, I don't quite remember the details. But that would give Mars enough of a magnetosphere that it would be able to protect sufficiently against the sun's radiation. Now let's see what this incoming transmission is all about. Mining revenue, you say? We don't need that right now, but thank you. And as we're watching the planet spin, I think I'll leave you. The last episode was 1 hour and 30 minutes, give or take a couple, and this episode has already been 1 hour long. Now, I could continue, but I am actually quite busy this week, so I'm sorry to have to leave you early. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and the video and consider subscribing, because I will be putting out more of these. I'm trying to do so every Tuesday, but this week, like I said, has been rather busy, so I had to do this on Wednesday. I hope to see you all later, and thank you so much for watching.